So yesterday, of course, was 4th of July, and I, like a lot of people, I think we're having some difficulty with the realization that some of our freedoms have been impinged upon as of late. And then others of us that celebrate the things that have happened, that to them means something different. So, what is freedom anyway? What does that even mean? One of the things, as I did a quick live yesterday morning to talk about my recognition that while I have had this fantasy that, part of me, I'll put it this way, part of me has had this fantasy that this country was the epitome of the free world, the leader of the free world. That's what a big part of me felt was true. And all that same time, of course, I had an awareness that there were other parts of our society that didn't experience freedom. Um, People of color, people who have low income, people that have disabilities, people that have big financial, medical problems that set them back and put them into a situation where they're more or less second class citizens and they don't seem to have the ability to express themselves and experience themselves as fully free. And recognizing that has made some difference in my mind about the celebration of yesterday's 4th of July event coming in the timing that it has. And I'm sure that looking at the Supreme Court, I think they are, in their mind, somehow actually working to make us more free in their own interpretation of things, or at least that's on the surface what they say. And they're saying we'll give the freedom to the of choice to the individual states, which in theory sounds somewhat good. Um, but of course, if you know anything about state politics and have been following anything that's happened over the last 6 years, you know exactly how gerrymandered and how extremely right wing some of these states have become based on the way that their political system has been maneuvered, giving the majority of the people in the state a lack of actual say in what's happening in their state. I know, 75 to 80% of Texans do not believe in all the things that Greg Abbott is doing, and yet, that he has the ability, the power, the his whole arm of the government has that power to do that. And so, what does that mean to our freedoms? It's kind of overwhelming sometimes when I think about it. Part of that comes from that awareness of the loss of our identity as a nation, because when we're no longer united in the way that I understood us to be united, when we have a Supreme Court that no longer recognizes the authority of the federal government to be a uniting organization. It's now recognizing this giving the states back more and more their right to govern their own state, which kind of like splits us up into separate nations in a way, so that we're no longer really united. Okay, that's aside from the whole subject of freedom, but it's part of the grist for the mill in a way, right? So my own experience of freedom is a whole different thing. There is an internal freedom and an external freedom, right? And most of us are governed by an internal lack of freedom that is even greater than the external that's put upon us. So mine and people like me's goal is to help individuals discover the freedom within themselves to be wholly and fully who they are within their own political system inside their selves. I'm Melody Brook. I'm a licensed professional counselor, a marriage and family therapist. I'm a mom, a grandmom, an actor, a filmmaker, screenwriter, author, poet, obviously a little creative. And all of this has really just like been filtering down in my awareness in the last few months, more especially in being able to begin to take ownership of my own internal sense of freedom, which is not affected by the things that are happening in our nation, which I find appalling, but at the same time, recognizing that isn't all of who we are, that we have a power within ourselves to explore that internal frontier. In fact, that I came up with this phrase recently, which is, the last frontier is not outer space. The last frontier is inner space, discovering the power that we have within ourselves to be wholly and fully who we are, who we were called here to be. And in exploring that inner space, we actually have an incredible power to move the events around us, not just in our own immediate experience of the world and our lives, but also into the ripples of energy and relationships that we have will begin to affect the overall way that the humanity is growing. And while this turn of events over the last few months has been demoralizing in so many ways, it's been petrifying and horrifying to a lot of us. And of course, there's that segment that finds it wonderful. I haven't quite wrapped my brain around that, but that's okay. They're allowed to feel how they feel about that. But nevertheless, that we do have within us an ability to take the events of what's happening, grow inside of ourselves, opening our own internal frontier so that we are prepared to face whatever it is that comes to us from the outside that threatens our sense of safety and security from the outside. Finding that inner safety and security within who we are gives us the power to address that in a much healthier way than we might have otherwise. It's kind of like someone who's been raised in a system where they're super controlled, like really authoritative parents. There's going to be a part of them that is ridiculously angry and acts out with that anger in some kind of unhealthy way that actually doesn't do anything except harm them. And this would be something that if we do not grow that internal frontier, if we do not embrace our own exploration of our internal frontier, then we are more likely to explode in that same unhealthy way as a child does when faced in an environment where they're feeling ultra controlled and authority has pushed them down. So we have to be able to accept and learn how to own our own strength and our own power and that we hold within us. But to do that, we have to, address the parts of us that are afraid, that are conflicted, that are angry, that are confused, that don't feel enough, and confront all these different parts of us in such a way as to embrace them and explore the lessons that they're bringing us that we can use to help us connect more with ourself. And by connecting with our own self, we have the opportunity to be more available to make long-term, bigger change in the external environment. We have to start inside making the changes that are required within us. Because if we have, let's just say, a part of us that wants to have a lot of money and be successful, and yet we have another part of us that believes, oh no, you can't do that, that's dangerous, you're going to get in trouble, people are going to reject you and not like you. Even as this one part is pushing you to be successful and have a lot of money, you'll have this other part of you that's sabotaging that. And that goes on outside of our conscious awareness most of the time. That's what I'm talking about in terms of recognizing and exploring this frontier inside of you so that you can get to know all the aspects of yourself that are stepping on in your own way so that you don't have the power to do the things that you have come here to do. And as I talk about this, I just want you to know that I am on the same process. I'm on the same path with you. I too am in this process of opening up this internal frontier and understanding and accepting and learning from all the different parts of me so that I can have more connection with the self and the power that I have within me to make a difference, which is what I'm called here to do. I am called here to connect people with who they are. I am called here to allow people the ability and the grace within themselves to step into their internal self and their self-expression of being the image of God that they were born to be, and that our human experience tends to get in the way of allowing us to be. So that is what I want for all of you, is that ability to do that within your own internal frontier. And I see there's a couple people here in some comments. So hi, Christy. Heidi, yes, I feel in my heart and feelings create my life. That's right. And hi, Dave. Thanks for being here. And if you have any thoughts, disagreements, other topics that you'd like for me to talk about, questions, just put them in the comments below. Send me a message on Messenger. Get in touch with me and let me know, because I really want to interact with you and make myself available to help you explore that internal frontier and grow from the beauty that's inside of you, even though it may not feel like that. So I'm Melody Brook. I'm a licensed professional counselor, marriage and family therapist, author, speaker, filmmaker, mom, grandmom, and poet. And you can find out more about me at melodybrook.com. You can also get a copy of my books on Amazon, on Kindle, on Audible. And I will see you next week. I try to get on right at 4 o'clock. It doesn't always work out that way. I had a little communication with one of my marketing people right before I came on, so I wasn't able to get right on at 4. But I try to be here every week at 4. And thanks for joining me. And take care of yourself. Look inside, explore that beautiful frontier of you. And I will see you next Tuesday, 4 p.m. Central Standard. Bye.